Okay, Lajaunie here with my YouTube channel, Bug Boss. Just tell you a little bit about me. Lajaunie, I'm the owner of Lajaunie's Pest Control. We service all of Southeast Louisiana, Thibodeau, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. Been in business 15 years. Started as a one-man operator, working for a large national company for a number of years. Now after 15 years, me and my wife, we've been able to scale Lajaunie's Pest Control from a single operator to now having over 60 employees with 4 branches throughout Southeast Louisiana. And on this YouTube channel, we're just going to talk all about pest control, the business side of pest control, the technical side of pest control, just all things pest control, and hopefully I can answer some questions. Today, the topic we're going to be talking about is to scale or not to scale. Do you remain a solo operator, or do you scale up to a 4-man operation or 60-man operation, and what's right and best for you, and what's the pros and cons of both? So for me, when I first started as a single-man operator running out my house, I was so thankful to be able to do it. And after about 2 or 3 years, I was making a really decent living being a single-man operator. But as happens to all single-man operators, there comes that day where you start getting so busy that you have to make a decision. Usually it's by the time you start turning away work, you start thinking, man, should I hire somebody? And I always say you don't really start having fun and your problems don't start until you hire your first employee. And I believe that is true. And then ultimately for me, one of the decisions when I was thinking about it that made me scale is, you know, one of the big negatives of being a solo operator is if you get sick or if you get hurt or something happens to you, you know, you don't earn money. You're out. You own a job when you're a solo operator, and that can be a great life. And there's many days when I started to scale when I asked myself why I was doing it and why I didn't just remain a single operator. So the pros of being a single operator, I think they're pretty evident. But one, you have total control over everything. You know all your customers, you know what's going on. You don't have any cancels, right? Or very few cancels because you're doing such a great service because you're doing all the services yourself. You don't have the headaches of all the employees and all the BS that comes along with that. It is really just less of a headache in the beginning. And you can make a really good living doing it. And there's nothing wrong with it. And I encourage people, and I think it's great to be a single man operator. And for a lot of us out there, that's all we want to be, and it's a great lifestyle. I love that pest control allows us to have that type of lifestyle as a single man operator. But the negatives of it is, like I said, if you get hurt, you don't earn money. You don't earn as much money as a single man operator, obviously, as I will with a 60 or 70 man operation. Also, you know, you turn work away sometimes, which is not great for your reputation. You know, if you have to do that. So that's some of the negatives of being a solo operator. Scaling, some of the positives of that is obviously you have the opportunity to make more money. You can help people in your community with jobs more, and then ultimately you can make more money. But one thing a lot of people may not know is when you do first scale, going from a single operator to a multi-tech operation, you lose money at first. So you go from paying yourself, making all the money, to hiring that other person. Now you're having to pay them and work it out. A lot of times you make less money while scaling. Now, once you actually get to scale, you make more money. But in the process of actually scaling, many times I've taken steps back or made less money or reduced my income to be able to scale. And that's a hard thing to swallow because you work so hard for years to make a good living as a single operator, and then you have to make that decision, okay, do I want to cut my pay in half for a year or whatever it takes to be able to scale? And then even when you get to 5 techs, do I have to, sometimes you got to, you know, reinvest and you make less money again to get to 10 and so on until you get to a certain level. Every time you scale up, a lot of times you actually lose money instead of make more money. But obviously in the long term, if you're successful with scaling, you make more money. So if you do decide to scale, the question everybody asks all the time is, when do I make my first hire, or what should my first hire be? Well, for me, my first hire was an office manager, and it was a godsend for me because, as my single operators know, before you have an office manager or someone to help, you're doing everything, right? You're doing all the sales, you're doing all the service, you're going home at night doing all your scheduling, you're doing all the collecting, you're doing all the marketing. I mean, the phone never stops. You're in the field with the phone on your ear, spraying a house, then you spray a house, then you go do a sales call, and then you get home and you do all your bills and you do whatever marketing you're doing, then you call and schedule your customers. Man, it's a hard grind, right? And it gets crazy. So for me, having that office manager start answering my phones kind of relieved some of that pressure from me. She was able to do some of the billing, help me with some of my scheduling. It really lightened my load and let me focus on some other things and continue my growth. But the best answer I always give of when do you hire your first employee is when you just can't get to all the work anymore that you're doing, and you have to. It's almost forced. I think it's always a question of like when I will do it, but I think you'll know your limits. You'll know when you've got so much work going on, and you'll know where you're at, and really just, man, take that risk and take that first employee on. And I always say really what you should do for your first employee is hire for wherever your weakness is at. So for instance, for me, just the organization, answering the phone was a struggle. The office manager worked great for me for my first employee. But for you, I think if you're going to be a solo operator, you kind of have to be a pretty good salesman and pretty good tech, but maybe not. That's not always the case. Or maybe you just don't like sales, or maybe you don't even like running a route. That's okay. Hire for what you don't like or for what you're weakest in. So maybe you want to sit in the office and take the calls. Hire a tech. Make the tech your first call. I've heard many stories where people have pulled themselves off a route and focused on just doing office sales or sales themselves, and their companies exploded because they enjoyed the other part of it more. So hire for what you don't like. So if you don't like sales, hire a salesman. If you don't like running a route, hire a guy to run a route. If you don't like doing the office work, hire an office manager. Make that your first hire, right? And then inevitably your second hire always after that is usually going to be a tech of some sort, because you're always bringing on work and need the extra manpower just to get to the work. For me, I did some stupid stuff. I had my office manager. My second hire was a technician, and I really needed the help to get to the production, but really couldn't afford to hire another person. So I had a brilliant idea. My brilliant idea was to hire a neighbor that had been laid off. He was a welder, couldn't find a job. Brought him on, and I made a deal with him. And I said, look, man, I can't put you on any type of salary or anything, and I don't even have a whole lot of stops for you to do, but I could definitely use the help. So I said, I tell you what, I'll pay you 50% commission. I'll give you a truck. You pay for your own fuel, and I'll give you the chemical. And that was our deal. And we did that for about a year, and the guy ended up being a hustler, man. I mean, he was a hard-working guy, and of course, if he didn't go out there and sell and create work, he didn't get a paycheck. So he hustled. He went out there and got it, man. He brought in a lot of work, but a lot of the things that I found out later that he was doing to get the work, we weren't making any money. So he was just doing a lot of extra sprays. He was doing stuff for cases of beer. He was doing stuff on the side for free. Just all that kind of stuff. And then really when I looked at what I was paying him in fuel and chemical and 50% commission, a lot of y'all already know where I'm going with this. I wasn't making any money at all. I mean, I was having some growth from him hustling, and I was thankful for the help, but I was making no money, right? And I was already paying an office manager, and I was paying him. I'd worked so hard for so long to even get to this point. Now I was making no money. And I really liked the guy. He's a good guy. But he was doing some things that I didn't approve of that you can have, basically stealing, right? I mean, he wasn't that great a guy in that aspect, but, I'd grown to like him over working with him. And I could do a whole nother series on boundaries with employees and that, and we'll do that one day. But for this, I had to approach him, and I had to, try to work out a different pay schedule and confront him on all the stuff, and it just didn't work, and he ended up leaving me, actually breaking into my office, stealing all my customer information, and then go and work for a competitor. And I had to work 12, 13-hour days, just go and see all these customers, trying to do damage control, and we made it through it, but it sucked. So my best advice for your first employee, no matter how good he is or what the situation, hire on integrity first. And we do that now in Lajaunie's. That's the first thing we have. We do personality tests, we do all kind of things, and we always hire on great attitude and integrity over anything else. I always say I could train somebody how to kill bugs, but I can't train them to care. So they have to care, they have to have integrity. So your first hire has to be on integrity. So yeah, so when you do start to scale, you know, those employees are going to be the most difficult things. One of the other things, if you're going to decide to scale, is you don't just have to, you know, a lot of us are great techs, but being a great technician and running a multifaceted business is two different things. I learned that the hard way. You really got to change your mindset to scale. You really have to change your mindset of being a good tech to being a business owner and managing people and managing resources and tracking KPIs and tracking data. And for those of us that just enjoy the field work and being a tech, that may not be for us, you know, because you do have to be willing to grow yourself both spiritually, mentally. You have to grow the way you think, your resources. You have to change and be willing to educate yourself in other ways to be able to scale. So guys, and then other thing I just always think as, you know, that one of the secrets to scaling, it's one of my favorite quotes by Zig Ziglar, is the best way to get what you want is to help enough other people get what they want. So always keep that mantra. At the end of the day, pest control, we complicate it, but it really is just helping people and serving people. We are a customer service company. As a matter of fact, our mantra at Lajaunie's Pest Control is that we're a customer service company that's really good at killing bugs. So guys, just some of the pros and cons and my thoughts on being a solo operator versus scaling. If y'all have any questions, anything, just send them to me. If you have like any other topics about anything, about scaling, marketing, anything at all that you'd like to see me do a channel, a video on, just let me know. This is my first video, so give me some grace. I'm trying it, but I look forward to doing some more. If you liked the video or found anything helpful at all, please like, subscribe to it. Trying to grow this channel, and please give me some comments, give me some feedback, give me some ideal topics. In the future, we are going to be looking to do some interviews with some pretty exciting, what I consider pest control legends around the industry. And if anybody else would like to jump on for an interview that feels they can contribute, let me know. So again, love you guys. Please like, subscribe. Y'all have a blessed day.